Alright, so what I've done, again ahead of time so I don't bore you, is I've taped off the neck so I can spray sealer on the fingerboard so we can get another finish on there. So that's all ready to go. And yeah, I try not to bore you with all this stuff. That's probably again why a lot of people don't do this, because it is so boring and time consuming and nobody wants to see you do it anyway. So you end up talking to yourself a lot. But that's it. Now I'm talking to you instead. So that's fun. All right, on to the finish. Okay, so I've taped off the fingerboard so we don't get that all messed up with soot from doing the frets, sanding the frets. So we're going to go through the grades of sandpaper, 220, 320, 400, 600, 1500, and then we're going to polish them up. This is the stuff we want to be thorough. We want to take our time. So after I've gone and kind of polished the frets in that direction, then I wrap the sandpaper around my crowning tool, my fret file. And I'm going to sand and polish the fret on both sides too. And this way I'm getting any skipe out of the fret, any fret chatter. And I just keep watching the fret to make sure it's, you know, I get all the little scratches and pitting out of it. So I'm working from one side of the fret to the other just to keep it round, and that I can get the sides of the frets nice and polished and sanded too. And when I've worn my paper out, I'll turn the sandpaper over. And so on and so on and so on. We'll keep going through the grades until it's nice and polished up. Okay, now we've got the quadruple steel wool. Now we're done sanding all the frets. And buff them up real good. And then we will carefully remove the tape. And there we have it. And then we'll clean up the fingerboard again. So now we got all the tape off. We're going to clean up some of that glue residue that's left behind. I put a little naphtha in a spray bottle, and that helps. The naphtha helps get the glue off. Then we're gonna wet sand. I've already got a few coats of lacquer on here. Got my sealer, my color, and a few coats of lacquer. And I wet sand between coats, like every couple of coats. Got 600 grit. We've already done these first few fret slots. Another very time-consuming procedure in refretting a maple fingerboard, because you've got to refinish the neck or the fingerboard. Don't have to do this with rosewood, so the maples are almost twice as much work. I like to keep the lacquer down to a minimum, so if I can get away with only spraying maybe 4 coats of lacquer, keep it real thin, just like the 50s fingerboards. They didn't have much lacquer on them. So you got a coat of sealer, a couple coats of color on there, some tinted lacquer is my color. So I want to match the old finish. Alrighty, it is buffing time. We've wet sanded the fingerboard and now we're going to buff it out. We don't want to go wild buffing it out. I use the rough rouge and then the final rouge. And it looks great. Nice and shiny. We don't want it too perfect because it is a vintage neck and we want to kind of match the finish. So now we're going to do some relicking. We have to match the old pattern that was in the fingerboard and get it assembled again. Okay, so after all is said and done, we have put the original fretware, or fingerboard wear rather, back in the finish, just like it originally was. So that's what the customer wanted. After we were done with the refret and the finish, he wanted it to be relic, just like it was. So it's all finished. So there we go, the finished product, which again takes about 4 to 6 weeks, depending on lacquer drying between coats and all that fun stuff. So there you have it, the maple fingerboard refret.